Sometimes it feels like the weight of the WNBA is on her shoulders. That is both, like I said earlier, a compliment and warranted in a lot of ways, but also maybe a little bit unfair to put so much on her, and then to not play up to her abilities in this early part would be frustrating. Legendary WNBA star Sue Bird has came out against the hostility and criticism Caitlin Clark has been receiving from other players. Are you curious about Sue Bird's perspective on the matter? Just wait until you witness her stirring responses to some well-known basketball figures who haven't shown Clark such kindness, used with a disrespectful tone, talking about how good the opponents are that she's faced over the first 2 games. Sue, like you know, this is a professional sports league that's been around 28 years. There are some really great professionals playing in it. I'm wondering how you take that part of the conversation here. That's definitely been the conversation. There's been a couple of moments that have led to the narrative around, Caitlin's greatness, and it translating. And there's been Sue Bird interrupts Megan Rapinoe, and Sue Bird discuss the most recent WNBA scandal in depth and provide their thoughts on the contentious issues surrounding Caitlin Clark on the podcast. I never thought Caitlin wasn't strong. That was actually something I noticed in college, like she had a strength about her. Will she get stronger? And will that help her? Yeah. I think it was more just getting used to the hits and the physicality and like what refs are going to call, what they're not going to call. And you've seen her adjust in that way too. Like Sue Bird began by gushing about Caitlin Clark's incredible talent and how she has been revolutionizing the basketball world. Bird was all about Clark's performances that broke records and how her abilities continue to astound audiences. She mentioned that since college, Caitlin has been astounding everyone with her play and strength, and it's obvious that she's only growing better. But is there any chance she could achieve much more? Bird wasn't afraid to call out the unjust criticism that Caitlin Clark has been subjected to, though she even brought it on Jimmy Fallon's show to discuss the subject in depth. Before we go into that, though, let's discuss how some teams and players have used aggressive defense strategies, such as full court pressure, since the beginning of the season in an effort to disrupt Clark's play. According to Bird, Caitlin's ability to overcome the constant pressure and maintain her dominance demonstrates her unstoppable nature, even if these defensive strategies are nothing new. But it's not just that. Bird went beyond simple critique. Sue Bird brought up a memorable instance in which Caitlin Clark was brutally assaulted and blocked by Easy Eye Magbeger, causing her to strike the ground with force. What then transpired? She's definitely getting used to it, which is, trouble for everybody else. That's why I don't want to see her. I don't want to see Phoenix. Rather than allowing that setback to depress her, Caitlin immediately got back up and continued to go forward. The response of the Bird: she is incredibly pleased by Caitlin's ability to turn difficult situations into opportunities to improve her game, rather than allowing them to affect her mental health. It's resolve on a whole new level. See what Bird had to say about that. This is where things start to get interesting. Bird's praise of Caitlin goes beyond a simple challenging play. It's a direct jab at the way some media commentators like picking apart every mistake a player makes. They would rather exaggerate and make a big deal out of a minor mistake than concentrate on her potential. However, Bird is stating no way Caitlin is managing these difficult situations expertly and utilizing them to improve her tenacity, not the drama, is the true tale here. She got blocked pretty bad by Easy Eye, took a little bit of a splat, and I'm sure she was a little pissed, but she kind of got up, took the lick, and got back, whereas earlier in the season I think it would have impacted her a little bit more. When Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe criticized the media for their treatment of athletes, they didn't mince words. They made one thing very evident: the media frequently ignores players' actual accomplishments in favor of focusing on controversies and creating controversy. It's similar to watching a movie and becoming fixated on every plot point rather than enjoying the grand narrative as it develops. But that's what makes what she's doing so amazing. This is, on the flip side, I would just feel like for people or real people who are on the internet and commenting on things like, just take a beat and realize that you're talking to real people who have real feelings and emotions. You don't have to be so hateful. This is a sport. Relax a little bit. The point made by Bird and Megan: come on, let's not make every game into a scandal fest, they're saying. Instead of making her the newest star, let's truly appreciate her extraordinary talent. Bird's candor is refreshing since she is openly criticizing the media for its unfair treatment of certain groups. She's not just being honest, she's refocusing attention on the athletes' accomplishments rather than their errors. To be honest, I agree with her on this. Fallon: Jimmy, awful things in there about you personally, and that's just unacceptable. We're playing sports, this is just a game, and we need to be kinder to each other. So I love Angel for this. Even more fascinating, though, is who she even discussed Caitlin with next. That would be Jimmy Fallon. They are obviously both great Caitlin Clark fans. Fallon was thrilled that Clark's incredible performances were setting records and attracting large audiences. Bird went on to note that Clark's deep logo threes are revolutionizing basketball, particularly for people who once said things like "women don't dunk," as if it were the only way to evaluate the sport. Fallon's humorous interpretation of these antiquated ideas makes it clear that no one can be critical of a player who is revolutionizing the sport with seemingly gravity-defying shots. Sue Bird made some very perceptive remarks regarding Caitlin Clark's move to the WNBA on another popular show. It always takes time, and I promise you that her perspective is worth listening to. Mark, have you been watching? I mean, that is obviously, it must be cool to watch someone like her just dominating. You're like, oh yeah, does everyone watch it? I think last week that she broke the record, and it was like 4 million people watched, that it's just exciting. Yeah, those are the numbers. It's huge. Yeah, she's obviously doing amazing. Her game speaks for itself. Sue Bird offered her perspective on Caitlin Clark's initial struggles in the WNBA, combining compassion with helpful criticism. The host brought up Clark's obvious annoyance and rage during a recent game during the discussion, and Sue's response was as follows. She's feeling that right now, but that's part of adjusting to the WNBA, right? Maybe not having it happen this early, but part of professional sports is you're going to have some stretches that don't go your way, you're going to shoot bad, your team's going to lose. And how do you respond to that? So I'm sure she would like those 2 games back. Everybody's clearly got their defensive game plan built around her, which is a compliment, but you got to figure it out from there. She apparently had a lot to say and didn't stop here just yet. Like just barely slapping the hands of her coach and teammates. She looked really angry last night. I mean, yeah, definitely. Let's not forget that she probably has arguably the most pressure that any women's basketball player has ever had coming into the WNBA. The fact that Sue Bird is worried about Caitlin says a lot. I believe she means bullies of Caitlin's who inflicted a great deal of hatred on her when she says a lot to put on her. Sue Bird's worries regarding Caitlin Clark are very clear. Bird is obviously highlighting the harmful aspects of the hate and criticism Caitlin has been receiving online when she talks about the blot she has to deal with. This scrutiny isn't just normal rookie hiccups. It's a full-fledged media frenzy that is following her around. Also maybe a little bit unfair to put so much on her, and then to not play up to her abilities in this early part would be frustrating. The thing is, you watch the games, she's not even really getting that many great looks. Again, some of that is the other team's defense, so credit, she's played 2 of the top defensive teams. Sue Bird made some really insightful remarks regarding Caitlin Clark's ascent. She also notes, though, that some have hurriedly positioned Clark atop the WNBA mountain, which Bird believes may come across as insulting to the league's existing players. This implies that even while Clark has amazing potential, the haste with which she is hailed as the best player before she has fully established herself in the professional ranks may obscure the efforts and accomplishments of more seasoned players. So is she actually standing up for Caitlin Clark or the WNBA players here? Doesn't that seem confusing? It does to me as well, but we need to undertake more research to find the answers. Aside from this, Sue Bird was a strong voice in highlighting Caitlin's extraordinary skill and denouncing the unjust treatment she has endured. What are your thoughts? Do you share Sue Bird's opinion about how we ought to handle fresh talent, or should we wait for her to establish herself? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and subscribe my channel.